Okay, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Um, so there we go. All right. So just a little bit of a background on me. I'm Sierra Busch, and I'm the founder of Creative Edge Travel. So the way that I got started in this business is I fell in love with Italy when I studied abroad in a little hilltop town called Cortona in Tuscany in undergrad. So it was 2011. And before I went, I studied Italian on my own between classes because I really wanted to be able to get out of that student bubble. It was all going to be American students, and I wanted to really be able to connect with local Italians and make friends and be immersed. And of course, knowing a bit of the language going into it opened so many doors that I just never expected. All these experiences I got to have that I didn't think I'd ever really get to experience. And I also discovered a side of myself speaking another language that I didn't know existed. I was so much more open, I was more confident, I was more curious about people. It was easy for me to strike up conversations in a foreign language, go figure. Somehow I was just more naturally myself. I just felt more at home in the Italian culture than I did in my own culture at home in the US. So fast forward to several years later, I was living in New York City. My boyfriend at the time, I'd met in college. He was a foreign student studying at my school in the US, and he was from France. I had gotten to go back in the summers with him a couple times and travel around Europe, always dragging him back to Italy. I did a homestay with a family where I made artwork for them in exchange for room and board. So I just really soaked up as much as I could. And so living in New York City, working at an art gallery, my friends started asking me for advice for their trips to Europe. And I realized how much I loved connecting them with the places, the people, and the experiences that I knew they wouldn't find on their own and would make their trip so much more meaningful. So I started networking into the travel industry and eventually landed a job working at a luxury agency planning trips for VIPs all around the world. And it was a startup on Fifth Avenue. It was um, really intense. I learned a lot. I got to understand how the industry works, all the different facets within it. Um, but it was very intense, very stressful. I'm from the Appalachian Mountains. I grew up in the woods, so I'm really a nature girl at heart. And I knew when I moved to New York City that I would eventually hit my limit. And so after a while, I did. I hit my limit and I basically overnight changed my life. I quit my job on Fifth Avenue. I left a 7-year relationship and I went straight to Italy where I feel most connected with myself and I hear my inner voice the loudest. And I worked for a tour operator in Puglia. And shortly after that, I founded Creative Edge Travel in 2017, and then went back and stayed in Florence while I was scouting around Tuscany and developing our first itinerary and building the partnerships and connections. And that's how we got started. So, like I said, I fell in love with Italy in 2011 and started the company in 2017. As you see here, I'm addicted to gelato. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you probably have heard some mention of my passion for gelato. So you can always find me eating gelato and giving tips about that. And it is not uncommon for me to be having at least one gelato per day while I'm there. Highly recommend it. Okay, so before we dive into the itinerary, I want to take a minute to sort of back up and see the full picture. So why, when we travel, why do we go to main cities? Why do we go to the main, most famous places? Is it because we've heard of them before? Maybe we know people who have been, so it somehow feels familiar. It feels kind of somehow feels safe because we've seen it in movies, we've seen it on Instagram, we've heard our neighbors or family members talk about having been there. But think about it. If the whole world is traveling that way, then you're getting a version of the place that has changed to please the whole world, right? If the whole world's going there, then it's changed to be able to accommodate the whole world. So you're getting restaurants that stopped caring about the quality of the ingredients they use because they only serve tourists who will never come back anyway. You're getting tours that have cut corners and costs to make it more profitable, and they're running the same tours on repeat day in and day out. You're getting incredible famous sites, but you can't actually feel and connect with what you're seeing because you're surrounded by a sea of sweaty tourists elbowing past you and people coming up to sell you trinkets and things. You've got pickpockets to worry about, all of that. So, what is it you're actually looking for when you travel? Drop me a comment in the chat. Why do you travel? Just think about that for a second. What do you think you're really looking for when you travel abroad, when you're looking for an adventure? Why do you travel? And give me a second to see how I can actually pull up the chat and see your comments. Here we go. So why do you travel? Drop me something in the chat. Is it to reconnect with yourself or your partner? To learn something new? Is it to experience something outside of your norm? Maybe to be inspired by a different way of living, like it was for me? Melissa says to connect with the place, people, and yourself. Yes. Yes, we want to have those type of experiences that make our life meaningful, right? That open our minds and inspire us. So you're looking for more meaningful travel and you want to go to places that allow for that authentic experience where you can actually connect with the culture and the people, like Melissa said. So tell me now, what kind of activities do you want to do when you're in Italy? What kind of things do you see yourself doing there? When you picture yourself on this trip in Italy, what is the image that comes to mind? Tell me in the chat, what do you see yourself doing when you're in Italy for the trip that will be so meaningful and fulfilling for you? And I want you to dig deeper here, get creative, right? So when you say, I want to do a cooking class, you don't mean that you want a cooking class with a teacher who has already taught the same class 3 times that day with a big group of 25 people you've never met before, do you? No, you mean you want to walk into somebody's home and be handed a glass of wine from that family's vineyard and learn generational recipes from the nonna, from the grandma, right? I mean, what a difference. What a difference. I have goosebumps just laying out that difference for you from going to this, this experience that's held in this classroom in the middle of the city, and you just there with 25 people that are tourists that day as well. And you have a teacher who's been hired to teach that class like 5 times that day, you know? Just alone, just the energy that the teacher has alone, like, someone that's their job to just teach the same thing over and over to people they'll never see again, versus like someone who's welcoming you into their home. That's so personal. What a gift, what an opportunity to get to walk into someone's everyday life and have them share that with you, be part of their family, their story. Let's see, in the chat we see experience new things, see new sights, the whole experience. Carol says to see the main sites, eat the food, then go out of the way places. Yes, a good balance of the two. Jennifer says walking around to discover new sites, trying new foods, participating in the local culture. Absolutely. So if that's what you really want, if that's what you're looking for, then you don't go to the crowded tourist sites just to check a box, right? Of course, there are trips where you want to see something that's world famous, but you want to make sure that you're not just going there because that's kind of the thing you do on your trip to Italy. Like, this is what people do in Italy, You want to make sure that you're only going You're only including famous places that have a meaning to you, that are going to add something to your trip. It's so easy for us to get caught in this place of like, oh, well, I'm supposed to go there, right? And then you go and you're like, well, this isn't really like my thing. I don't really like standing in museums and reading plaques. Like, I don't connect with it, or, I went to see the Mona Lisa in Paris, and, you kind of get in front of it and you're like, well, okay, it's smaller than I expected. There's a crowd here. I can't even get up close to see it. And I don't even remember why this is a special painting. Like, why are we all here? So pause. I want to encourage you to pause and really plan your trip, design your experience in a way that's meaningful to you. You don't have to go check off all the main sites. It's not a sin to go somewhere and not see some famous thing just because that's what everyone does, if it's not meaningful to you. So this is your trip, your dream. Don't just go there to check a box. So if like we established before, you're mainly after those special and meaningful travel experiences, then you don't want to go to the crowded tourist sites just to check a box. You want to go to the medieval little village that hasn't changed for tourists, right? Where you can just sit in the piazza and watch the comings and goings and how the locals interact with one another. You want to find a place with unbelievable beauty at every corner, but beauty that's all yours because it hasn't been slathered all over Instagram yet. No one else knows about these places. You want to go somewhere where the locals get curious about you and take you under their wing to be sure that you see the best their town has to offer. And you probably want those serendipitous encounters that lead to an invitation to dinner in a local's home. Am I right? Comment yes in the chat if that's what you're dreaming of, if those are the kind of places that you want to go where you can experience the authentic everyday life in Italy. Put yes in the chat. Jennifer says yes. Melissa says yes, absolutely. Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page about that. So this is what you want, right? This right here, taking in ancient ruins without the crowds. Walking into an artisan studio to have him show you what he's working on. Being welcomed like an old friend and hugged goodbye like family. This picture here of the hug was from one of the meals we have on our Sicily trip. That's real. That is genuine. They really felt connected, and that hug was just like, oh, I'm so grateful to have had this experience in your home. This food that you made for us with these local ingredients, some that you grew, and this wine that your family made, that's just so special. So you see, there's a difference between going to Italy to check things off a list and going to Italy for that meaningful, transformational life experience that deep down we all really want. But there's a problem. There's a problem. Access. How does someone who doesn't speak Italian, doesn't really want to rent a car in a foreign country, and doesn't have a ton of time in one place to build those connections and friendships that lead to those more immersive cultural experiences? How does someone like that, who is most of us, by the way, how does someone like that plan a vacation with those type of places, those type of experiences, and that kind of amazing immersive trip they dreamt about? They don't. They simply don't. They can try. They can say, okay, well, instead of going to Rome, I'll go to Siena, which is a little bit smaller, and I'll take the train to little villages nearby. Yeah, sure. That's a start. But they still don't speak Italian. They still don't have weeks or months to spend there building friendships and connections that invite them deeper into the culture. And they also might not realize, without having been there, that Siena is still full of tourists. and they might not know where to go to find those hidden authentic villages that they think they'll take the train to. A lot of people spend weeks, months doing their own research to find hidden local places, reading blogs and looking at top 10 lists and things, only to find when they arrived that so many other tourists read that same blog post and they showed up too. So it's just hard to know what you're really going to get without having some on the ground experience. And even if they do know where to go, they're going to exhaust themselves trying to figure out how to reach those villages using public transportation and all the details, all the logistics. It's a lot figuring out the logistics. And, I mean, Italy doesn't have the best organization. We all know that. That's part of its charm, right? But dealing with those logistics and details is a lot. So, access. How does someone go straight from not knowing the language, not having local contacts, not knowing the area, not really wanting to rent a car to drive in a foreign country and get off the beaten path? How does someone go straight from that to being under the surface, getting into the heart of the culture, connecting with locals, and having an immersive, authentic experience with hardly any other tourists around? Well, this is exactly why I founded Creative Edge Travel, to be that bridge for people to go straight to the heart of the culture without the work. We do the work for you. All you have to do is show up, and you get to benefit from the relationships we've built, the partnerships we've created, the research we've done in the area, and the expert curation of activities. We spend so much time meticulously thinking of every detail and how, one thing leads into the next, how you're going to feel after you've just done a wine tasting. Will you want to then go on a hiking tour? No, you just had wine. You want to chill, right? So we're the ones sitting there and thinking about every little detail to make sure that you have the best possible experience, and especially one that is meaningful. So, you may not agree with me. You may want to take a whirlwind tour to all the tourist attractions with a group of 50 people on a giant tour bus. That might be your thing, and that's fine. I've met someone like that. She said, "Well, I just really like being on the big tour bus and meeting different people, and, we get to see so much in a short amount of time." That's fine. But if you felt yourself saying yes while I've been talking, if you felt your heart start to jump around and get excited, if you felt yourself lighting up and started picturing yourself having these type of experiences in Italy, then stick around, my friend, because I'm going to tell you all about our next trip with Creative Edge Travel to a hidden corner of Sicily this April. And I am genuinely so excited about getting to share it with 7 wonderful travelers like you guys, because for those of you who align with the philosophy that I just laid out, this travel philosophy that I've described, this could very well be that dream trip come true for you. And that's up to you. You have to think about, what do I really want from this? What am I really looking for? So if all of this aligns with you, this could be that dream trip come true. So this is the trip, Discovering Authentic Sicily. It's April 19th to the 27th, 8 nights, 9 days, and it's in the inland part of Sicily. So now I'll just go through the itinerary, and we'll get into the questions soon. Okay, so day 1. So we'll pick you up from your B&B in Palermo, and then we'll drive to our first accommodations, check in and rest. Although a lot of people are too excited to rest, they want to wander the grounds and check out where we're staying, check out the kitchen, what they're doing in there. We'll have a welcome aperitivo and review the coming days together and get to know each other. And then we'll have our first dinner at the B&B. Day 2, so this first day and the first half of the next day, my friend Pier Filippo, He's a guide in this area, and he'll be taking us under his wing. So this is where we get to kind of surrender to the magic of the unexpected, because he's got his thumb on the pulse of the community there. He knows who's doing what, who's making cheese, who's making tomato sauce today. you know, if there's an event going on, he knows his village, he knows everyone in it. And so he can bring us by the artist studio, or, it's different every time. Last year we went to see cheese being made, and he told us about the type of goats that they raise, they're the last cheese farm to be using this type of goat. And it was the traditional one that they used way back when. We got to go into a little bakery where we got to taste these amazing cookies that were so good. And, they were pouring their homemade wine out of a, 2-liter old Coke bottle or something, just the real stuff. So after spending the morning with visiting the village, learning about the village, popping into shops and things with tastings and encounters with locals, then we'll have a long lunch. It's usually either at a winery or with a family with some locals. And this will be our kind of Sicily with a local day. We also, something really special is that we'll be there just after Easter. And this village where Pier Filippo is from, they do this amazing, elaborate festival with all these decorations for Easter. The decorations should still be up. And I don't want to give away too much because it's so special to see, but they make these beautiful artworks, and there's a different theme each year, but they make these beautiful artworks that you can see up close are made from different seeds and different grains and things that they grow in the area. It's just amazing. So that's something really special. The next day, we'll have the first half of the day again spent meeting interesting locals, walking around a village. And then we'll again have lunch like in a local home or at a winery. And you can see here fennel. This is a beautiful fennel and orange salad. Fennel is in season while we're there, so that's something we'll get a lot of, and it's so much better in Sicily than the dried up fennel we get in the US. So after lunch, we'll go back to the B&B. You'll have some time to rest. We'll have a Sicilian siesta, nap time. And then in the evening, we're going to go to Agrigento, which is the city nearby, and you'll have time to just wander. We'll point out the 2 main streets in the historic center for you to walk up and down and go into the shops. It's going to be a little bit more lively. So since we're spending most of the trip in these smaller areas out of the way, this is where you can kind of check out the buzz and, the little bit of the nightlife and people out and about and, people watching. And you can get dinner on your own. So the next day, you'll have the morning free. We always spend a lot of time, thinking about the pace of the trip. If you're out late the night before, then we won't get you started at 8 a.m. the next day. You'll have, a slower morning. We make sure you have free time as well so that you have time to journal or just, let all the details sink in and really feel the experience you're having, soak it up. But after lunch, we'll get going and we'll visit Valley of the Temples with a guide. Last year, you see this picture in the bottom left. Last year, right here, the guide just glanced down at the path and plucked up this ancient piece of pottery that he just happened to spot. Just amazing, amazing. After that, we'll have a pizza dinner. Can't go to Italy without having some good pizza. And then day 5, we're actually going to be departing the first B&B that we're staying at and heading to another area. So along the way, we'll stop to visit a bell workshop. So this is a foundry where they've been making bells the traditional handmade way for generations and generations. And so you'll get to see the different phases of production and meet the artisan. And then we will have lunch at a winery. And when I say lunch, at least 3 hours. That's a long, authentic Sicilian lunch. And then we're going to tour an ancient abbey, which also happens to be where we're going to be sleeping. We are staying at a medieval abbey. It is the coolest opportunity, and you won't find a ton of pictures of it in this presentation because I want to leave it a secret. It's just so special. It is truly amazing. And then we'll have dinner at the Abbey after you get checked in and settled. So day 6, you'll have a whole free day at the Abbey. So you can roam the grounds. There's a pool. There's even a labyrinth. It's tucked away on the hills with this beautiful view and in a forest. So you can walk the street or walk the trails and soak in the nature. This is a good day to catch up on rest or to catch up if you have a little bit of work you need to check in on at home. Hopefully not, but lots of us do. Connect with family back home, share your experiences. A lot of people say like, oh, I want to be posting pictures every day. And then inevitably they get behind on posting or sharing pictures. So it's a good just catch up day. Just rest, be where you are. You can read a book by the fire. You can wander this amazing abbey. Some people want to hang out and play games and drink wine. So, and then on the day 7, we will be with friend and guide Marco. He's here. And Marco will be taking us around his village of Bisaquino. So he'll have us pop into different shops, kind of do a little wandering street food lunch. And then he'll take us to his friend Giuseppe, who is a basket weaver. He's one of the last, if not the last master basket weaver doing it the traditional way. So he'll transform sticks into this beautiful basket right in front of us, just really cool. And then we'll also visit ceramics artisan here, Maurizio. And after that, we will go to Marco's mama's house. We get to step into a Sicilian home, meet his mama, and she'll do a little cooking demo, and we'll have dinner there in their home. So these are just some scenes from that village, Bisaquino. Day 8, this is a really cool day because we get to start out in nature on, an easy path through the forest with this beautiful mountain view. By the way, just the scenery on this trip is stunning. Everything is a panoramic, beautiful view. And this time of year, you've got wildflowers blooming and it's just gorgeous. So we'll be out in nature foraging for wild asparagus. So we'll, teach you how to spot it, what to look for, how to tell if it's too young or too old. And then we'll take all the asparagus that we gather and we'll go to this farm. It's a prickly pear and an olive farm. And the family there will show us how they transform the asparagus into a delicious egg frittata with asparagus. And that's, of course, just an appetizer of this multi-course meal. We spend the whole day just hanging out at this farm, having their homemade wine, eating. After lunch, we can wander the grounds and walk through the olive grove, see the cacti, learn about the process. How many of us are familiar with prickly pear fruit, So that's something really cool to learn about. And then we'll go back, have dinner at the Abbey, and give you some time to pack because sadly the next day you'll be departing. Okay, so I want to play this video for you so you can hear kind of a little bit about the trip from guests that have been before. Let me see if I can just, let's see, I might have to stop sharing and reshare. Okay, give me just a second. Okay.
Traveling with Creative Edge Travel is hard to even compare to any other travel that I've done or that I've even thought about doing. Every moment pretty much seems like the best thing. Hi, my name is Jan. I'm on my first trip with Creative Edge Travel, and we are doing the Sicily trip, something I will bring home with me. is an enhanced way that I try to live already. Having this type of ambiance, this type of atmosphere, this type of welcoming is something I believe in, but I've been really seeing it in action here. And that isn't something I always see every day, and I see it here all the time. And really, it's easy to do. I just really feel like there's all these heart connections all the time, and that's what's important.
My name is Vicky, and this is my very first time traveling with Creative Edge Travel, being part of the Authentic Sicily trip. One of the things I really appreciated about this authentic trip to Sicily is that I didn't have to take a crash course in learning the Italian language. The owner of the company is fluent in Italian and bridge the gap with the languages. It's really impossible to choose one particular special moment on this kind of trip. Every experience was new, fresh, exciting, and what I called a multi-sensory experience. And after each experience, I found myself excited about what the next experience might be. The Sicilians, even the people that are still working, they truly know how to savor and enjoy life and to love their friends and family. And I hope to take that home with me.
Hi, I'm Sierra. I'm the founder of Creative Edge Travel. I'm currently leading our Discovering Authentic Sicily trip, and this is Marco.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm one of the guide here in Sicily. Meeting local people, it's not like any other tours because you meet people, you get in touch with them, you have relationship with them, and everyone here becomes a friend.
And this is sort of our philosophy to welcome people, to let them feel what it is to be Sicilian and to be part of the community.
Okay. Okay. All right, so that was our little video. I wanted you to hear what a couple of guests that came last year had to say. And now we'll just go over the accommodations real quick, and then we'll get to some questions. So the first 4 nights we're staying on the organic farm resort. This is a really special place where the staff really feels like family. They have one thing that's cool about them. They have this philosophy where they want you to feel like you're staying in a friend's home. And one of them is an artist, it feels like, because the owner, he is really good at collecting things. So everywhere he goes, he'll see like a little shard of pottery discarded behind the house, or an old pot, or, you know, just random things. And he'll just ask, like, are you going to do anything with that? Can I have that? Do you mind if I take it? So he just collects all these really interesting things. He also supports local artists, and the way that they've curated it and displayed it everywhere is really cool. They also have a pool and all these, you know, natural textures. They hand you their homemade shampoo when you arrive from plants that they grew there, that sort of thing. And they also have this policy that the kitchen is always open, meaning you can walk in at any time. You're welcome to wander into the kitchen and see what they're working on, roll up your sleeves and help if you feel like it. And they have a little job you can do, and just chat with them and see how their day's going. So they really welcome you like your friends. And then we say 4 nights at the medieval abbey. Again, I'm not going to show too many photos of this one because it's super special, but a family has owned it for generations, and is slowly restoring it and, discovering interesting secrets along the way. They have unveiled a fresco that they never knew was there for ages and ages, and they just had it restored. And the dining room where we have our meals here, it feels like you're in a scene of Game of Thrones or something. This long table with these old wooden carved chairs, and the way that they bring out the food and serve you, it's just a really cool experience. And of course, that view there I mentioned, whew, it's so beautiful. Okay, so if it wasn't made clear in the previous slide, let me make it clear now that this trip is also full of amazing food experiences. We eat a lot of amazing homemade food with locals, and of course wine. That was some of the feedback I got, is like, we didn't realize that this is really like a culinary trip, because I don't like to focus. I don't like to create trips that are just one thing, just food or just art or just history, because I feel like to get an understanding of the whole culture, we have to touch on all those things. But I want to highlight that it is really full of food as well. We will not see another crowd for pretty much the entire trip, and we will really be immersed in places that I promise you none of your friends know about, where we can truly discover authentic Sicily together. You can come home, and rather than your neighbors saying like, oh yeah, I did that too when I went, they'll be asking you like, what, how did you find this, how did you get to do that? That's so cool. I never realized, I never heard of that place. That looks amazing. So for those of you watching today or in the replay, we're offering a discount of $100 off if you book the 2024 trip by February 1st. The doors close on February 1st, so be sure that you book by then. The discount code will be emailed to you, so you can look for that or get in touch with me at the email at the bottom there of the screen there, sierra@creativeedgetravel.com to book. I will drop the direct link to book in the chat now. So that's the link where you can go grab your spot. If you want to have a chat with me first, I do usually like to have a chat with people just to make sure that it's a good fit for what you're looking for. The last thing I want is for you to show up and be like, whoa, I didn't expect this, or, this isn't working out, or, I mean, I've never had that happen, but I just like to check in with you individually, make sure I answer questions you have, any doubts you have, any concerns, and make sure that we're on the same page and that this is a good trip for you. So you can get in touch with me at that email and we can set up a call. So a few common questions here. The weather, April temperatures in Sicily are variable, and dressing in layers is recommended. So the daily highs are typically between 57 to 63 Fahrenheit. The lows are historically between 45 to 50 Fahrenheit. So you'll be adding layers on, taking them off. You'll want to have a day bag with you where you have an extra sweater in there or a scarf for when you get chilly, that sort of thing. About arrival and departure transportation. So on arrival, you should plan to arrive in Palermo the day before our trip starts, before the trip start date. This means if you're from the US, for example, you'll probably be taking an evening flight on April 17th in order to arrive in Sicily on the 18th, and then start our adventure together when we pick you up on the 19th. So we'll pick you up that morning from your accommodations in Palermo. And if you really want to have time to visit Palermo, we suggest that you plan to spend at least 2 nights there before we pick you up on the 19th, so that you have time to one day is just kind of arriving, taking a nap, and then getting out to force yourself to kind of adjust to the time change. And then the next day you'd have time to actually visit things. And it does take not everyone, but most people have a little bit of adjustment period for that jet lag. So it is a good idea if you have the time to come a bit early. And then on the departure, the morning of April 27th, we'll drop you at the Palermo airport by 11 a.m. So we recommend you book a flight no earlier than 1:30 to allow plenty of time. If you do book a flight, before or after that window, then we can, of course, help you arrange your own transportation for an extra cost. Private rooms. Yes, everyone has private rooms. We do not put guests together unless they specifically request it. If you're traveling with someone and you want a room with them. What are the other guests like? We get that question a lot. So the ages are usually a mix. We'll have a 30 something, a couple in their late 40s, early 50s, and then a few people in their 60s or 70s even. This type of trip attracts similar type of travelers. So I've found that no matter what the ages are, what their backgrounds are, these trips attract people from all different walks of life, but that have similar interests. They're a similar type of traveler, right? They're the ones that are looking for getting off the beaten path, learning, expanding their perspective. And then we quickly have shared experiences to bond over because we're in the weeds together. We're stumbling over how to correctly pronounce bruschetta together and that sort of thing, laughing together, having wine together. So it is always really magical for me to see how these people from wherever all come together and become fast friends. We also have extension options. If you want to stay longer after the trip or come early before the trip to see other parts of Sicily or jump over to the mainland in Italy, we can help you plan that part of your trip too. Okay, so what questions do you have? This is your time now. You can drop it in the chat. You can unmute yourself and ask. Let's talk. What came up for you when you're watching the presentation? Jennifer says Sicily is beautiful. Yes, it is. It's amazing. I take it you've been there before, Jennifer. Any questions? Also, where are you guys from? Harland, I see you're the one on my screen here, so I'm going to call on you. Where are you from? Oh, sorry, you're muted. Let me unmute you real quick. There you go, Harlan.
So, buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
I'm in San Mateo, California, very
Okay,
near San Francisco.
nice. And have you been to Italy before?
Well, I grew up partly near Livorno, and
Oh,
I went to Scuola Fratelli Cristiani. And so when we left Italy in 1959, I was dreaming in Italian.
oh, I
But I
know.
haven't had so much practice and I've forgotten a lot, but somehow words appear when I need them.
Beautiful. I love that. They do just kind of pop up.
And mostly we traveled north of Rome.
Okay.
So I've been wanting to discover southern Italy for a long time. And this looks like a great opportunity.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. I've mostly explored south of Rome, but I recently have been getting more into northern Italy. Of course, I've been spent a lot of time in Tuscany, but besides that, southern Italy was where I spent most of my time. And then last fall, I went to Piemonte and explored that area and Lake Orta, and it was beautiful. But
Do you
yeah, that's
know?
great.
Do you know Colodi?
Colodi, yes, I've heard of Colodi. Isn't that where the Pinocchio Park is?
Pinocchio's hometown.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was 10 years old when I got to see Colodi.
Cool. Wow, so you really have a connection to Italy since you were little. That's awesome.
Yeah, I sono Toscano.
Bravo, bravo. Complimenti.
But I know I will love Sicily. They have their own way of doing things,
Mhm.
and I may or may not understand, especially if they're speaking rapidly. But if I can get them to slow down, I might be able to pick up a word or two.
Yeah, they definitely have their own dialect, not only that, but really people don't realize that every village has its own dialect. It really
Yeah.
changed village to village. But I love going to different regions and just picking up the different rhythm that they speak with. There's a different accent in each one, and it's really cool. Do you have any questions about the Sicily trip in particular?
Well, being a sailor, I'm probably going to wander before or after this visit of yours and find somebody to go sailing with.
Awesome. That sounds great. The Aeolian Islands are beautiful. You can take a ferry from Milazzo, I think it is, to Salina is my favorite of the little islands. And I have a friend there, Luigi, that does takes people on his boat, and he's a marine biologist, and he decided to get into tourism and show people his
Hmm.
island. And he one of my favorite experiences with him is going to visit this volcanic island, and there's an active volcano there, and it
Hmm.
still erupts. You're not, of course, they can't promise an eruption, but I got to go in his boat, and as the sun sets, you're seeing this volcano erupting, and even if you don't get to see lava, just like feeling the power of the earth and that rumble, it is so
Yeah.
exciting. So that sounds like something you might enjoy. Cool. Well, does anyone else have questions or thoughts? You would feel free to unmute yourself and chime in. Carol, I see you asked in the chat, the town that makes the bells, where is it? Can you visit them working? You can. This is an experience that as just for our clients that work with us either for custom trip planning or coming on this trip. So unfortunately, we can't give away all our secrets. These are places that we've spent time, developing these connections and finding these little places. So um, that one I have to keep secret, unfortunately. How about Jennifer? I hope you guys
Hi.
don't keep calling you out, but I just want to connect with you. I want to hear where you're from and what you're thinking.
Okay. I'm actually in Redwood City, California.
Also in California. Cool.
Yeah. And I have been to Sicily. My great grandparents were from Flume de Fredo, which is a little town just I think north of Catania. So
Okay. Nice.
so yeah, I went there in 2014. I spent 4.5 months in Europe.
Wow.
And I spent 3 weeks in Italy and like 4 days in Sicily. I went to their home village and everything. So it was amazing.
Oh, I bet that must have been so special. People ask if I have Italian heritage, and I don't. I tell people I'm just Italian at heart somehow, but I can't imagine as special as it is for me already to visit Italy. I can't imagine if I had actual family ties there. So I bet that was really special to go and see where your family came from.
Yeah, it was. I don't know that I actually have any family that still lives there, although, with ancestry, they say that I do, but I've not met anybody. So I do want to go back at some point. I'm actually working on trying to get dual citizenship right now so that I can eventually move there. So
Yay! So exciting.
yeah.
Awesome. Are you thinking about traveling in 2024 back to Italy?
I don't know about 2024, probably maybe more 2025. I would like to take my mom. She's in her 70s, and she's never been. So but she's got to work on getting her passport and some documentation together. So I'm not quite sure that 2024 will happen, but definitely by the next year. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I do. I did really enjoy your video though, and I love the experience that you're offering. I mean, that's just amazing because there are so many little hidden gems everywhere. I mean, I did kind of the tourist thing when I went there in 2014, but I also did kind of some off the beaten path things on my own. So it is fun to just to get out there and kind of explore and just kind of wander and see where don't have really a plan. Like I mean, I kind of jumped from one city to the next and not really knew. I didn't really plan anything per se. I flew into Italy knowing I was going to be in Italy, but where I went in town to town and where I stayed, I mean, I did a lot of hostels back then because it was just
Yeah.
easier to book.
Yeah.
But I did a couple B&Bs just for a little peace and quiet and privacy, versus a hostel experience.
I
It
know
was
all
it was
about the
it was
hostel
still a lot.
experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of fun. I mean, even if you do like the semi-private rooms where you're only sharing with like one or two people, I mean, just meeting other people from other parts of the world and why they're coming to that location and whatnot, and just where they've been or what they're looking to see, you just that experience is just it's amazing. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming today. Oh, I also want to mention, I want to make sure you guys all know we will be offering an online cooking class in February and hopefully in March too. We do this about once or twice a quarter, and it's a chance for you to come live with us on Zoom. And my partner in Sicily, Marco, that you saw in the video, he's going to be teaching us. I think we've decided on doing ricciarelli, which are little almond cookies from Sicily. And each time we learned something, a different recipe. But yeah, that's another chance to come spend some time pretending we're in Italy, right? Getting out of our day-to-day routine, doing something different. And it's really cool to get to, hear from Marco and learn how he learned this recipe and where it comes from and all of that. So keep an eye out in our newsletter for cooking classes. Okay,
well,
any other questions? Melissa, Carol? Okay, well,
I have a question.
yes, go ahead.
Any of these places we're going to be staying, might there be a pub or trattoria that has karaoke?
Karaoke. Oh, I don't know if I've ever seen karaoke in Italy. Have any of you?
not
I
in
don't,
Italy, no.
I
I
don't
know
think,
Italians love to sing.
yeah. Yeah, you'd have to get to a wedding or something, right? Some kind of party.
Well, in 2015, I took my 41-foot sailboat across the Pacific and wandered South Pacific Islands and Tonga and Fiji and Vanuatu and Solomons, Papua New Guinea, Timor Leste. Anyway, I met Italians along the way, and usually we would go get you know a coffee or a glass of wine, and inevitably we wound up singing. It never failed, and I have words to some songs that I think many Italians know, but inevitably the Italians I met ran out of words halfway through the song, and they were kind of surprised that this Americano had the world.
Uh-huh. Nice.
But you know Domenico Modugno?
Yeah. Volare.
Okay, the whole world knows Volare
Mhm.
thanks to him. Well, in 1958 or 59, I don't remember which it was, he again won the Spoleto Music Festival with Piove,
Mhm.
and I have all the words.
Nice.
And so all I need is half a glass of wine and I'll sing.
Exactly. I love that. So you're gonna entertain us if you come on this trip. I can tell already.
Well, it's possible.
Yeah. That's great. All your travels on your sailboat. That's amazing. Definitely sounds like you're kindred spirit in this type of travel, getting off the beaten path, adventure and meeting people. That's awesome.
Well, I stayed in some local homes in Raiatea, which is very near Bora Bora. I had my boat pulled out of the water for some repair work, and I started asking around. There's a local family run grill where the two boys were earning money to pay for their books and their uniforms at school. And they were doing fish and chips, steak and chips, and there was chicken and chips.
Mhm.
And they were doing a $5 dinner where downtown was $15.
Mm.
And so the whole neighborhood was coming to eat anytime they were open. And so I got to meet a lot of local people. And I
Nice.
asked Valerie, the cashier, if she knew of somewhere where I could stay, like a B&B. And she said she would ask Mama when Mama arrived. Well, I saw this woman come in and talk to Valerie, and Valerie pointed at me. And next thing I know, Mama is at my table. And she says, "You stay here." And she put me up in Valerie's room. Valerie slept in her son's room. Her son was spending most nights at his girlfriend's house. So that room was empty anyway. But anyway, I got an up close experience with the local family, and they wouldn't accept that I paid money to stay in the room. So I got tools from my boat and I did handyman repairs. Their bathroom needed several repairs, one of which was the hot water valve on the shower was broken. And
Oh,
when I put a new valve, and Mama had her first hot shower in months, she gave me one of those hugs that's going to last me a lifetime.
yeah.
You know how Polynesian women sometimes get extra size, you know, large.
Okay.
Well, Mama was large, and when she gives a hug, it stays with you forever. And so I had some wonderful experiences like that.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing. That sounds like such a special experience. That's really
It-
cool.
It
That sounds
was.
amazing.
That's beautiful. Awesome. Well, unless you guys have other questions, I'll let you get back to your weekend and enjoy hopefully some sunshine. I won't promise warm weather this time of year, but hopefully you can
It's
enjoy
raining
your
here.
weekend. Oh,
All right.
um,
Thank you, though.
yeah, thank you so much for coming. And I'm always an email away, so just get in touch.
And thank you for doing all the legwork, making all the connections, and getting invited into these inner sanctums. That is not something simple.
Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate that. And it is my pleasure. That's why I'm so excited to have the opportunity to share that with other people and extend those invitations. So I really hope that some of you guys will get to come experience it.
How long is it that you have been in Italy and learning Italian?
Let's see. I started studying on my own in 2010. So a while now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've been going usually 3 months in the fall, 3 months in the spring. Now I'm trying my life priorities are shifting a little bit, trying to have more stability, maybe a relationship. So I'm doing more like 2 month, 1.5 month trips now starting this year. But yeah, I usually got to go for a good long time and, always getting off the beaten path and meeting new people, seeing new places. So just soaking up all the knowledge and trying to share that with all of you.
Well, saluti and tanti auguri.
Grazie anche a te. Buona
Thank you,
giornata.
Sarah.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Grazie. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao for now.
Ciao.